John, you're sinking again in sand.
Um, no, this is my my kitchen, Cole. This is yeah, I
Um,
like
we,
Coleman's Club.
we were talking about last week when we recorded our last
In the
video.
same shirts.
Wink. We were talking about, what were we talking about that's going to segue into this? We were talking
Well, Kurt
about,
Vonnegut's quote, I'll put different glasses
yes,
on, that'll fool
do something creative. Yes.
him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, my personal experience in life was I did not believe I was creative. And part of the reason I gravitated to photography is that I thought it was a technical art and that I didn't have the creative part, but I had the technical part. And I could just do doubly good on the technical side, which would compensate for my lack of creativity. Pretty
Hmm.
silly thought, but nonetheless. And I was mentioning to Brooks how I have met so many other photographers who feel the same way. I'm not creative. That's just, others are creative. I'm just not. And one of the lessons I've learned in my life is that we are all creative. And I don't like to put what my experience is on others, but I really do believe we are all creative.
Hmm.
We may not have been taught how to be creative. We certainly were all creative when we were children, but then we lost that creativity, perhaps as we listened to others, like your brother who was told he
Yeah.
couldn't sing, or the teacher who frowns at a painting a child draws and the child quickly learns to conform to what the
Right.
teacher likes. But we are all creative, and I think it's a shame that we don't believe in ourselves. I have a little quote from Sylvia Plath. I don't know who that is. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I know for me, that was certainly true. I didn't believe I was creative, therefore I could not be creative.
Yeah, I still struggle with that from time to time, to be very candid. Especially if I'm doing that old comparison is the thief of joy thing, where I'm looking at somebody else's brilliant work on their website and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything that. So that certainly gets in the way of me then thinking, maybe I'm not that good after all. I mean, I've heard people say many times when they look at someone's work jokingly, I think I'll throw all my camera gear away, and that's that self-doubt, and that's that, crap, I'm that comparison thing, which just is very defeatist, right? And gets in the way. But I agree with you 100% at this point that everybody is creative. It's just, you know what? It'd be interesting for you to add to one of your future presentations, Cole. I'd like you to seriously think this through. You know how you do the vision blockers and they get darker and darker, the sunglasses? I think there's creativity blockers that are very similar, maybe, or maybe you could
Well,
address that.
I don't know the relationship between creativity and vision, but there is a strong relationship.
Has to be.
In fact, when I started following my vision, I didn't think that was creativity. I thought it was just, I mean, it was seeing how I saw. But as I followed my vision more, I found myself being creative. And I realized there is a relationship. So the answer I would give to people is one, find your vision, find out what it is you love. But the other advice I would give to myself and everyone is, how many of us expect to go out and first time you pick up a golf club and hit it as well as somebody who's been playing golf their whole life,
Right.
or shoot a hoop,
Right.
or
Yeah.
pickleball for us elderly? Um, but they practice, and we recognize their practice makes them good at it. I don't believe there's any difference with creativity. We have to practice at being creative. And I think Brooks brought up the point you can't do it on command. I can't say, okay, John, be creative.
Yeah,
But
if you didn't come up with that, I was going to say, hey, Cole, if you wouldn't mind right now, can you recite a haiku about that picture behind you? Right. I mean, and which is a really valid point that he did in that little exercise, because you can't be, nobody's expecting you to be creative every waking moment of every day
or on demand.
or on demand. Yeah, it's impossible, but you are creative. I mean, and every the other thing too to add to that is, and when you are creative, it doesn't mean that you or the masses are going to like what you create every
Right,
time.
right.
Back to a previous show, but the bottom line is just do the work, just keep working at it. And we won't mention Roger's name ever again because I
Oh,
know he'll
no,
probably
we don't want to let people know it's Roger, so let's call him Steve.
let's call Roger Steve,
So
just in case.
Steve, when he
Roger
said,
R is going to be Steve from now on.
yeah,
But man,
he
you and I
was,
went back and forth with him for a long, long time. And I think he believes he's this creative,
yes,
but we were trying to say, no, you can't quantify. You're just creative,
yes,
Steve.
yes, yeah, Steve, not Roger, yeah, because we don't want people to know it's Roger.
No.
Yeah, yeah, and so it got me thinking. When I started to believe I was creative, it didn't open up a floodgate, but it did open up the gates so that I've become more and more. And I feel like I'm on step 2 of 10. I've just barely scratched the surface, but now I know I can be if I can get out of the way with my self-doubts and the comparisons. Oh my gosh, that is for me, a creativity killer. Because
Yes.
when you look at other people's work, you think, oh, I'll never be that good. They must really be creative. And I'm like Steve, I'm only a tiny bit creative.
Yeah, that's true. But I think you mentioned a good point there. The more you believe or the more you practice being creative, then I think the floodgates are going to open up. The floodgates. And I go back to my very first, keynote style presentation was Dream, Believe, Create, which is still my favorite one to present. And I get to that part when we've talked about a lot of things, and I get back to the fact that my promise to the audience is if you can get back to dreaming about what your photography you want it to look like and you want it to be. So in other words, if you can get back to imagining the vision, I should probably change it to that, but dreaming about the vision for your photography. And then the key word in that whole lecture is believe, and then really truly believe that you can execute that vision, be creative. Then, and I always hesitate to say this, but it becomes almost automatic to be able to create at that point because you've unlocked or you suppressed maybe even all of those things that get in the way, the comparisons that get in the way, the I'm not creative, all the negative self-talk. You get beyond that, and now the floodgates really do open up, and being a creative at that point becomes a lot easier.
And I can see someone legitimately saying, look, I've been an engineer my whole life. I've tried, I'm just not good. I'm just not a creative person. How can I believe that I am when I don't really believe it? Well, then at least believe in your potential to become creative.
Excellent
I,
point.
a terrible example, but I love it anyway. The Music Man,
Ah,
I only like two musicals, and that's one of them. And the Music Man was kind of a con man, and he went from town to town selling musical instruments.
yep.
And he had I think he called the Believe method. They didn't have a music teacher to teach them music. They just had to believe they could
Yes.
play. And of
Yeah.
course, the kids would get out there and it would sound terrible, but the parents loved it. But there's some truth to it. There is the Believe method.
Yes.
If you want to be creative, you have to believe you have the potential.
The potential. And I think that's a great way to finish. Absolutely. So guys and gals out there, really believe that you are creative because you are. I mean,
Yeah, you are.
Cole is a perfect example. If
Hey,
anybody could be creative after his life that he's lived,
no,
you can do it too.
people have no idea how I've spent 55, 60 years of my life firmly believing I had no creativity, none.
Yeah. And now look at you, uber creative, doing superb things that are very creative. So good work, bud. All right, folks. We'll see you on the next show next week.
Next week.